Hey guys, Angry Beast here, bringing you some Domination gameplay on the new map Foundation. I'm using the M16 here to start off. I think halfway through I switch up to an MP7, but this is a really epically close Domination game. We draw we drew this out for quite a long time, and we end up winning the game. So I had a lot of fun playing it. It's not the most exceptional KD or whatnot, but I'm playing the objective most of the time, just trying to win the game, and we do end up pulling it through at the end. So I thought you guys might want to see this. I've played a couple matches on this map, and overall, I don't care for it. A map that it reminds me a lot of is Rust from Modern Warfare 2, just because there's so many vertical cinder blocks and all that stuff. And I never really cared for Rust. I know a lot of people liked it for 1v1s and such, but other than that, it really wasn't suited to an objective game mode because everyone just sits up in a corner or in one obscure part of the map, and it's really difficult to get them out of those spots because there's just so many places where they could be. And a good camper knows to move every once in a while. So, to be perfectly honest, this is not one of my favorite maps. It's interesting. When I first played it, it was kind of interesting, but I feel like a lot of people like to run their blind eye and their assassin on this map, and that ends up slowing the game down quite a bit. So, to be honest, I wouldn't recommend this map if you plan on buying the map pack. This would not be a map to get it for. Now, I'm using the M16 here with the red dot and the kick proficiency, which is basically my go-to M16 class because I do like rapid fire on the M16. It does make a considerable difference, but to be honest, it's not really necessary if you just slow your game down a little bit and just let them come to you. And interestingly enough, get killed by another guy using the M16. Oddly enough, I've seen an influx of M16 users recently. I don't know why, but I see a lot of people using it for whatever reason, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's a break from all the Type 95 users. We actually do come out to quite a big early lead, and unfortunately here I'm absolutely destroyed by this last stand guy, and he ends up taking the B flag from me, but there isn't too much you can do in that situation. When you have enemies who are doing that poorly and they run the last stand or final stand, whatever it is in this game, there really isn't too much you can do other than just trying to keep shooting, but unfortunately his buddy was to my right and flanking us, so I don't know how I could have prevented that death, but, you know, you live and you learn, and we just move on with the game. Now, at this point in the game, I'm a little bit worried because my teammates haven't shown the biggest initiative to push the flags during the first half of the match, and at this point I'm deciding, okay, do I want to take the B flag now or should I wait a little bit? I do end up deciding to wait, and it does pay off, I believe. If I remember correctly, we do end up getting the B flag after we push them out of their spawn. But generally, I would just hop on the flag here, but I saw that one of my teammates was coming over to C, and if we can create a distraction at C while my other teammates take B, while I overwatch them and help cover them, then we can basically split them in half. And that's the best way to cap a flag. If you can have it so you're capping two flags at once and they have to choose between going to one flag or the other, then you'll be in a situation where you have the advantage because instead of their whole team flocking towards you at B, it'll be half their team going to C and half their team going to B. And unfortunately, they take A right from behind us there, and there wasn't too much I could have done for my position there. I expected some teammates to be over there, and this part of the map right here is very interesting because I see a lot of people flocking to this side of the map, and I really don't understand why. There isn't too much advantage to being on that side of the map because you don't have as much cover as you would, say, in the middle of the map or to the right-hand side of the map. But for whatever reason, people just like to sit there in that corner. They think they have a lot of cover there. They really don't. But for this map, how I like to play, at least from my minimal experience, is that if you're going to play on this map, you want to use a shorter range weapon. I know I'm using the M16 to start here. That's a little bit hypocritical, but I do switch it up pretty soon here because we're starting to lose our flags left and right, and I decide that the M16 is not the best weapon to push the flags with, but as I've played this map a couple times, I've noticed a couple things. Is that you have to always check your corners in this part of the map because there are people who will hide right behind me right now. I think I get killed by one later on in the game. There are people who will hide underneath the stairs. There are people who will hide up top, and unfortunately I'm killed just a couple seconds off of capping the flag. And there's just a lot of places to hide around the middle of the map, and that leads to the idea that people think, okay, if I hide here and I can protect the flag, I have a lot of cover and they won't see me as they come in. And in reality, what happens is you can see them if you're attentive, but when you're trying to play the objective like me, and you're not really going for too many kills at this point in the game, it comes down to the fact that you're going to be looking for them to be in the normal defensive spots and not hiding in their corners behind them. Now, I know with a little bit of corner checking, the campers aren't too big of a deal, but the problem is when you're playing the objective and you got a really close game, like at this point we're like 1 point away. I think at this point I switch up to my MP7 because I'm like, I'm not running fast enough with this M16. I'm not helping the team enough. Let's go a little bit more try hard. And I switch up to an MP7 with silencer and focus and extreme conditioning, quick draw, and dead silence pro. I definitely think that dead silence is necessary on this map if you're going to be moving at all. I mean, there's just so much verticality that you're going to be pretty much jumping across the map, jumping from different heights, and the ability to have no fall damage is huge. Not to mention the decreased footstep noise is pretty important when you're playing in the elite playlist, because I find a lot of people in the elite playlist aren't exactly randoms that you'd find in the normal 6v6 dom. But I'm using the C4 and the smoke grenades on this class, and I pick up quite a few C4 multi-kills after this point. I think right here I get grenaded out of here. No, I guess I don't. I guess I do capture the flag, but that must be later in the game. But the C4 is actually really powerful in this game. T. Martin didn't do it justice in his video. It's actually much more powerful than the frag and the Semtex. He judged it by how much your screen gets blurred up, and that's not the proper way to judge the damage of a frag versus a C4, so I could do a video on that if you guys like, because the C4 really has a couple things that set it apart from the frag, that, including its increased radius, it has better capabilities to be able to be thrown over walls, just like that, C4 across the wall. And that's how it's intended to be used, and that's how I like using it. It's just fun to get those random C4 kills out of nowhere, because it's so humiliating when you kill someone with the C4. There's just something about it that I just love, and that's why I threw it on this class, because it's very versatile, and it's in a way that a frag doesn't have. Unfortunately, I saw the guy's bullets shooting out, but I couldn't find him. But it has versatility in a way that the frag doesn't have, in the ability to stick to walls and be selectively detonated. And when you use it with quick draw, you can actually get it out faster than a frag or a Semtex and have it exploding before you could even get the frag or Semtex out of your hand. So in my opinion, it's a win-win situation with C4. You lose a little bit of throw distance, but because this game is already so close quarters, that throw distance doesn't mean much. I was trying to jump up on the rails there, see if I could avoid the blast, but it didn't work out too well. And when you are using the C4s, though, one thing you have to be cautious to do is to not just sit there trying to spam the right bumper after you throw it, because that's definitely not the most effective way to use it. You wanna use the square or what is that, XX button on the Xbox controller to make sure you blow it up that way, because if you try to blow it up using the right bumper, you're going to take a lot of time out of your day. That's something I'm still trying to train myself to do, but it's a difficult habit to get into. Unfortunately, right here, I get absolutely panic knifed by this guy. I get 2 shots into him, and he just tenses on his controller. And, you know, one thing that's nice about the Elite players that I've run into is you don't find as many panic knifers. I find a lot of people run tactical in Elite, because there's some of the better players that understand that drop shotting is more important than panic knifing. Unfortunately, I run right back and get panic knifed again. It was by a different guy that time, so that's a good thing, I suppose. But panic knifers are something that's just very frustrating overall in Call of Duty. And you know what I hope to have in Modern Warfare or Black Ops 2 is an ability to have a perk that gives me resistance to a knife. Say it reduces knife damage by 25%. So if I get knifed by a guy and I'm at full health, I can survive 1 knife. But if I'm hit once or twice, and I'll be dead with his knife, and that'd be a good thing in my opinion, because knives can be very, very frustrating if you're the one on the receiving end of it, because it feels like you have nothing you could have done about it, because there really isn't. If I'm running around and I get knifed by a person, there's very little you can do to stop it, because especially if you're running head-on-head at someone you try to shoot and they try to knife, there's a phrase, don't bring a gun to a knife fight, I mean a knife to a gunfight, or something like that. And in Call of Duty, that's like the absolute inverse. You want to have a knife in a gunfight, because the range is just ridiculous, and the fact that you can pull it out for the same speed with every weapon needs to be changed, in my opinion. If you could have it in such a way that with your light machine guns it takes longer to knife, and with your submachine guns it's a little bit faster than your assault rifles, I think that balance it out a little bit more, because it's based off your weapon class and your swap times, instead of being able to just instantly be dead. With a weapon like an assault rifle, it'd probably take about half a second for the knife to fully come out and go through the lunge process, and that'd be a little bit more balanced. I mean, you wouldn't get randomly killed by a panic knifer all the time, and you could have a chance if someone tries to knife you when you're trying to shoot them. But here's a really good line of sight on this map. unfortunately he goes behind the car and I couldn't abuse it. But I found a lot of people like to cap it directly on the flag, and you can just abuse that line of sight right there. At this point, I decided I'm just gonna cover a flag by myself. Ooh, double C4. I'm just gonna cover this because I felt like my teammates were doing a pretty good job over on B and C, and this score is so close at this point that it's very important that we do hold on to A. I'm lucky here that my teammate called in an EMP, and the EMPs are a very controversial subject for me because I like the EMPs when I'm using them, but I hate being EMP'd. When you do get EMP'd, though, there is the Assassin Pro thing, which is nice, but when you're not using Assassin, which I generally don't, I mean, I'll use it occasionally, it can be very frustrating because you'll just constantly be getting EMP'd by teams at times, and oh, gotta love it, I got my Predator missile destroyed by a trophy system. I forgot about that. That's actually kind of funny. Because that just shows how much more smarter the people who play in the Elite playlists are. You'll never see someone trying to use a trophy system against a Predator missile in a 6v6 Dom, but in Elite, that's actually happened 3 or 4 times to me before, and it's cool to see that you're playing against better people. You're not playing against the same scrubby dubbies that you would usually do. Another double C4 there. I just love the C4s. There's just something about getting C4 kills that it's just so much more fun than just getting a normal kill. So much more humiliating. But this gameplay is wrapping down, and I think it ends up being something like a 23-20. But I felt like that's a pretty good score considering I'm in the Elite playlist already, and the fact that I'm using weapons like the M16 for the first half of the game, and I'm playing the objective at the same time. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Angry Beast, and I'm signing out, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.